Greetings, comrades. We are still working on Capital, Chapter 10. Today is just Section 5. We have one more day of Chapter 10 next week, and then we'll move on to 11. This chapter is similar to the last section we did, where it talks more about the experiences of workers under this capitalist mode of production during Marx's time. Whereas last week we talked about like personal experiences for these people. This is a little more broad and like what it does to the laborer as a class, as an entity. It's titled "The Struggle for a Normal Working Day." It talks about what determines the working day under capitalism, and it's literally just the amount of surplus value that they can squeeze from the laborer. So the working day is as long as you can possibly go. And he also talks about, towards the end of this section, how the class struggle and unions have helped a little to limit hours, to give days off and meal breaks. And he speaks of how a laborer's life begins after work, right? Work is just the thing you do to survive, but life is in those off hours. So I just wanted to read this beautiful paragraph at the beginning of the section. It's a little bit long. This is like the brilliance of Marx, is the way, just listen. Hence, it is self-evident that the laborer is nothing else his whole life through than labor power, that therefore all his disposable time is by nature and law labor time, to be devoted to the self-expansion of capital, time for education, for intellectual development, for the fulfilling of social functions and for social intercourse, for the free play of his bodily and mental activity, even the rest time on Sunday, and that in a country of Sabbatarians, moonshine. But in its blind, unrestrainable passion, its werewolf hunger for surplus labor, capital oversteps not only the moral, but even the merely physical maximum bounds of the working day. It usurps the time for growth, development, and healthy maintenance of the body. It steals the time required for the consumption of fresh air and sunlight. It higgles over mealtime, incorporating it where possible with the processes of production itself, so that food is given to the laborer as a mere means of production, as coal is supplied to the boiler, grease and oil to the machinery. It reduces the sound sleep needed for the restoration, reparation, and refreshment of the bodily powers to just so many hours of torpor as the revival of an organism, absolutely exhausted, renders essential. It is not the normal maintenance of the labor power, which is to determine the limits of the working day. It is the greatest possible daily expenditure of labor power, no matter how diseased, compulsory, and painful it may be, which is to determine the limits of the laborer's period of repose. Capital cares nothing for the length of life of labor power. All that concerns it is simply and solely the maximum of labor power that can be rendered fluent in a working day. It attains this end by shortening the extent of the laborer's life as a greedy farmer snatches produce from the soil by robbing it of its fertility. Work is fucking killing us.